Hello, everyone. Hello. This is Dr. Lynn J with Emerge and Empower. How are my beautiful audience doing on today? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone, how are you doing today? We're still in the month of May. I pray that May is going very well for you. I know as we are celebrating Mother's Day month, I look at the month, not as the day. Many no longer have their mother with them. And my sympathies to you. I send you hugs at this time and love on the people that are in your life right now. So we're continuing on the series of different mothers and their perspectives and their healings, their losses, their experiences that they're sharing with you on this platform within the next couple of weeks. So I pray that everyone is well on today. I hug you. I kiss you. Mwah. Blessings to you. Now go ahead and tell everybody that Dr. Lynn J is on Emerge and Empower. Come on, pull up a seat and be with me in the next hour. All right. So I'm waiting for you to click, like, and share. Put it in your groups. Share the link, share the link, share the link. For we are on today with another powerful episode on today. All right. Are you ready? I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. Click, click, click. Share, share, share. We got to build this audience, all right? And I need your feedback. Come on. You're watching this. Give us some feedback. Let us know we're on track. Let us know that you find our guests relatable. Let us know the stories that you would like to see more of, all right? So these are the things that I'm looking for from you. You have to give me feedback. You have to get in my inbox. You have to get into these stories. I have to see it by your shares. I have to see it by your likes to know, keep going, Dr. Lynn J. You're on the right track. Everyone wants a thumbs up, all right? Everyone wants the thumbs up and the love and the hearts. I want them. All right, don't you? I want them. And that's how I know that I'm doing a good job and I'm bringing you content that you can use in your everyday activity. All right? I'm waiting for you. All right. Shortly, we'll bring our guest on. Welcome to Emerge and Empower, the podcast where we delve into stories of resilience, triumph, and personal growth. I'm your host, Dr. Lynn J, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this journey of empowerment. Each episode, we bring you inspiring conversations with individuals who have faced challenges head on, emerged stronger, and are now making a positive impact in their communities. Whether it's overcoming adversity, pursuing passions, or navigating the twists and turns of life, our guests share the valuable insights and lessons. Welcome again to Emerge and Empower. And I'm here with a special guest, a beautiful guest on today. Isn't she beautiful? Isn't she lovely? I love to celebrate my sisters. I love their smiles, their resilience, and them loving the skin that they're in, all right, coming from the healing. So today we have Krystal on here. Krystal Vernee is a serial womanpreneur author. She is a speaker, a business coach, a brand strategist. She owns Divas and Dolls Fitness. Come on. A pole and central dance studio. All right. And Central Aerial Dance brand. Simply She, a coaching and consulting firm. And Krystal is also a personal brand, okay? An engineer by trade. Krystal knew that entrepreneurship was the ultimate goal early in her professional career with over 20 years of experience in the entrepreneurship space. She has always been passionate about empowering women. You know, that's all we stand for,
Mhm.
creating a safe space for them to unapologetically be themselves and providing support and the need to transform their passion into profits. Krystal encourages others to tap into her zone of genius through the signature coaching program. She also has her own podcast TV show, okay? And she's on here. That says a lot. The brand built her blueprint. She teaches entrepreneurs how to monetize their expertise and create multiple streams of income. Come on, ladies, our business gurus, let's tap in. All right, so that she can build a profitable and sustainable business. Welcome, welcome, Krystal, to Emerge and Empower. I am enthused to have you here. I'm excited to have you here on the show. I love when sisters are on the show. I love when we've emerged, when we've gone through experiences and we still show up and be on the front row seats of our lives and did not throw in the towel. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Go ahead and let your guests know that you are on Emerge and Empower today with Dr. Lynn J. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Lynn J, for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And thank you to all the listeners, everybody who's shown up to listen to the episode. I truly appreciate it. But like she said, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and my mission is to empower women in entrepreneurship and help them to reach their goals.
Hmm.
So that's why I believe I was really put on the earth, and that's what I intend to do.
Love it, love it. Once we find our purpose and understand what that is, it's a beautiful thing. It is so beautiful when you turn your pain into purpose and your mess into message, right? I am big on that because it took me some time to get where I am today. There were hurdles, there were difficulties, but I kept pushing through. And like you will be sharing your story. And what I love about it, because our title here today talks about Beyond the Veil, and this is Krystal's liberation from narcissistic change. Now, who can relate to narcissism? Come on, somebody. All right. Now, she dealt with it in different forms in the home growing up, and then to go out of the home and continue in that same area. So, Krystal, let's just get right into it and tell us a bit about your journey growing up.
Yeah, so I often describe myself as a scared little girl. Um, I was very afraid growing up, particularly of my mother. And for those who have experienced narcissism at the hand of a parent
Mm-hmm.
or another family member, I think they'll know exactly what I mean when you're in that environment every single day.
Right.
So, like, you hear demeaning things like you're too fat, you're too stupid,
Right.
you're too slow, you'll never be this, you'll never be that, you'll never be good enough. And these are the messages that I received as a very young child. So
Mm-hmm.
this isn't like something that I was told because I messed up. This is what I was hearing from pretty much when I could understand language, that, I would never amount to anything, never be anything. Don't embarrass me. And some people hear that, but like hear that
Mm-hmm.
from the frame of I was a straight A student. I was in the talented and gifted program, but to hear that I'm an embarrassment and that I was never going to amount to anything daily was was hurtful. And so I became obsessed with trying to prove to my mother that I was good enough, that I would be
Wow.
something, I would be someone.
Right, right. And that is something hard because most times you find children are being bullied and sometimes you find other relatives. But when it's coming from your mom, somebody that you expect that's supposed to always lift you up and encourage you if you come down and say, okay, everything is gonna be all right. But in your case it's the other way around. Let's talk about that a little. How did little Krystal feel as a child when this was happening?
I mean, isolated, alone. Because
Wow.
it's kind of like, when you grow up in a black household, what happens in this house
Right,
stays in this house.
right,
So
right,
I didn't talk about it. And I just happened, but I would ask my friends little things like, well, does your mom do
hmm
this?
Right.
Does your mom do that? My mom says this. And they're like, well, no. Like, why would your mom say that? And I'm
Right.
like, well, I don't know. So I never really disclosed fully like what was happening. But I would just
Mm-hmm.
like ask my friends if they, received the same treatment. Or when I went over their house for like a sleepover, I would notice
Mm-hmm.
how their parents treated me or how their parents treated their children. And I was like, there's something different here. So then I just became silent. Like I didn't want to talk to anyone, or that showed up in school. Like I was very, very quiet in school. Yes, I'm shy. Yes, I'm an introvert, but I became overly so, where
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, and the teachers mentioned it, where I wouldn't answer questions in class even though I knew the answer. And so then I got in trouble
Wow.
because my mother's like, well, why are you acting too stupid? You're sitting in the back of the room. So it was kind of like I forced myself to raise my hand in school. So it was kind of
Wow.
like just all to avoid an argument, all to avoid being berated when I got home for nothing really. But it was a challenge daily trying
Mm-hmm.
to navigate my mother's emotions and
Right.
navigate what would not get me in trouble
Right.
daily.
So it seems like you were always forever walking on eggshells. So whether you're home, you was being cautious, trying to do your best not to cause any issue. Then now you're at school because if it reports back to her, you still have to deal with that. So you spent your childhood just basically pleasing and making sure you're getting everything right because it's going to become something else added to what you're already experiencing, and that definitely is not a place that any child should be, but you had to go through that. Now you say you was a perfect student, but that wasn't enough.
No, it wasn't that. My mother, well, most of my family are educators. So there was already a higher expectation
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
children in their households to do well
Right.
because they were teachers. So
Right.
there was that. And then they were respected in their
Mm-hmm.
circles. So, of course, if I did not do well, it would not, they felt like that would reflect poorly
On them.
upon them. And so that was what was communicated um, very often. But even being a straight A student wasn't enough. And
Mm-hmm.
I brought home a B. I needed to do a lot better. I was forced to do like extra hours of studying. I don't even like
Wow.
homework time was extremely stressful every
Wow.
day. Extremely stressful. Like my mother got home, like after she got home from work, I literally would just like curl up in a ball and like want to hide, but I couldn't because I
Right.
mean she owns the house. Like where am I gonna go, really? Um, but
Lord.
like literally, it was like I started to know people would clear out when she got home. It was kind
Right.
of just like you know how your mother is. Like that was
Right.
what was always said to me, and I'm
Wow.
like, well, this can't be right.
Right.
How she is, but it was just stressful.
That's a lot of stress for a child to go through. We are in the month of May, and people have celebrated Mother's Day, and many are celebrating it because their moms are with them. Some are not because their mom is no longer with them, and they are looking for that nurturing mother, that caring mother, that uplifting mother, that mother like, okay, you didn't get it this time, but let's do better next time in love. You understand me? Some might look at it and say, well, it was good for her because today, look who she is today. But the environment for a child, children must have time to study, children must have time to play and be creative and become themselves. All of these are key points for children. All right. Yes, we have to give them hours and time for homework, but this says that even if your homework was done, your homework, like you still had to spend extra time onto your homework. And if your work wasn't enough, then you had to spend extra time on it later, meaning you didn't even have time to let yourself imagine, some of the things that childhood imaginations, the playtimes, and all of that. So it's like you were robbed of a lot of the in a sense that a child should be enjoying the love and the embrace that a child should be enjoying. Because I know there's always two types of people that's going to say, well, it was good for her because look who she is today. But that's not what we're this is about. This is about the experience that children should have, that nurturing, that care, that support. Yes, maybe you got a B, but I know you could do an A. So next time, let's just bring that up without being so hard that you feel like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. Yeah, I'm going to have to deal with this for a while until I get this up. You understand? So,
Yeah.
yes. And the fact that your friends are clearing, because people are leaving, okay, you know, your mom is, she's home now, we're out. You understand? So that
Yeah.
means people are feeling this, not just you.
Yeah. They just, nobody wanted to challenge her. And I mean, it goes beyond, I
Mm-hmm.
think, trying to have your child do better. She used to rip up my homework. Like if it
What?
wasn't good enough, yeah. It's like, oh, you're like, I mean, and I will admit my handwriting is pretty terrible. I
Mm-hmm.
have worked on it, but they say the people with the worst handwriting are the smartest. So
That's true.
I embrace that. I embraced that growing up. I was like, see,
Mm-hmm.
this was like proof when I was young that I was gonna be a smart
Right.
child. But I, did as best I could with my penmanship. But if it didn't look how she wanted it to look, or
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't construct my sentences in a certain way, she'd rip it
Mm-hmm.
up.
Wow.
She'd rip it up and be like, "You got to do it over." And we'd be
Mm-hmm.
at the table till like 8,
Mm-hmm.
9, 10 o'clock at night until I did it right.
Wow.
And if she didn't like the way I wrote it, she would have my grandmother come in and write
Mm-hmm.
it for me in her penmanship, and I have to trace it because it looked
Wow.
better and it wasn't
Right.
gonna reflect poorly on her. Yeah, it was a lot of stuff that I admit now because I'm just like, I think someone needs to hear this so they know that I thought I was crazy growing up,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
literally crazy. And I think that's really one of the things that when you deal with narcissism or you deal with a narcissist and they're
Mm-hmm.
impacting your life, they make you feel like you don't know what's going on, you don't know what
Right.
to do, that you just are literally that you're a crazy person, and that
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
what everything that you do is wrong. They make you question everything.
Right. Right. And the fact that it's reflecting on her. You're a child. Children have to learn and master skills. So, what if your child penmanship isn't what it should be? I mean, they're mastering. How is this reflecting on you? Because in the end, this is your personal journey.
Mhm.
Parents. I have 6 children of my own. I know that that's their personal journey. I always tell them just be the best at what you do. That's it. You can do better. Don't dumb yourself down, but not in a condescending way. You understand? In a way to encourage them, because I know there's better in you. And I want you to go inside of you and pull out the better you, but not like, what is this? This is no. No, no. The only time I get on my boys is their uniform because I wash clothes. You can't be going to school with no dirty, crusty clothes. That's reflective on me, on the mother, because I didn't do the laundry. That's different. So do not wear that shirt 3 times, because it's gonna look like I didn't do the laundry, stuff like that. But again, people, I'm like, you know what? If you go like that, you dress because they see me, they know how I look. This is you. This is
That
not
was a
me.
decision you made.
Okay, this. You understand? So I say that, but I have them say, I say, how you carry yourself is how people gonna think. That's how we treat you at home. You
Yeah.
understand? If you don't take a bath, they're gonna say, "Well, geez, well, I wonder what's going on in that house." So I say these things you reflect in me. So when you step out of the door, look like you my child, okay? But we got to bring some humor into this because it is very, very hard for children and parents who are watching today. If that's you, please stop.
Yeah.
Please stop. Children will be children. They will have their experiences, but we have to understand, we have to give them room to grow. All right. You can show them, you can guide them, but allow them to learn. You didn't just come out learning. You didn't come out perfect. Nobody came out perfect, but you learn to master everything that you're doing. And remember, people already know who you are. They already know what you've the degrees that you have. They know who you are in society. All right. We know that we want our children to reflect that when they go out, but we should not be to the extremes. All
Yeah.
right. We shouldn't be to the extremes because kids will be kids. They will be who they are. And every person out there who have children, they're going through the same thing. Some people just make it seems like it looks better. Oh, look at so and so's kids. Please, half of the time they tell you look at so and kids. Your kid doing better.
Yeah,
Because you're just looking at it from one perspective. Come on, pull
that's
back
right.
those reins and let children be children. Our society has so much in it already right now. They don't need extra pressures from home.
Yeah.
Except to do good and remember, train up a child in the way that they should grow so that when they grow old, they don't depart from it. Give them basic Bible principles to live by, whether you're there or not. That's what you want. You want good children, respectable in the community. Penmanship, we can work on that. Hello, somebody.
Yes.
I'm still mastering mine. you know,
I know. Like me too, really. I'm like,
I
I
mean,
mean,
that is a for you know how many times my signature have changed just so I could master. Come on. Come
yeah.
on. We gotta these things are not that serious, but we do understand. Now we have everything is typed. We don't even write things anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a lot there. So how did this constant criticism, gaslighting affect your self-esteem?
I had none. I literally had none. I mean, it was kind of like that is really what I feel caused me and others to seek validation
Mm-hmm,
from
mm-hmm,
others because we weren't getting validated, or I definitely wasn't getting validated as a child.
mm-hmm.
I was actually told that I was like fat a lot. A
Wow.
lot. Like
Wow.
no one, I'm not gonna have any friends. No boys are gonna like me. I don't
Wow.
lose some weight. So I started to starve myself like in middle school. Yep,
Wow.
I did like I fasted like every day, um, and honestly, my mother was doing that. Like
Wow.
she would not eat until dinner. So like she would skip 2 meals. This was the
Mm-hmm.
behavior that I was learning,
Yeah, you have learned
realizing
behavior.
yeah, realizing that like our family did not eat healthy. Like
Wow.
water was not a thing. Like soda was a thing. So like the
Mm-hmm.
food that I was eating was being bought. Like I wasn't
Right.
going to the grocery store. My
Exactly.
family's Southern, so we were eating like fried chicken
Mm-hmm.
and collard greens and all this stuff
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't healthy all the time.
Right.
So I had no control over the food that was being brought
Yeah,
in, but
because
I
it's
was
already in the house.
it's in the house. But then I was told, well, don't eat too much of it or don't eat that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, what am I supposed to eat?
Mm-hmm.
Also, at the same time, like not even like really putting me in a physical activity.
Right.
Even though I was asking as a
Mm-hmm.
child, like, can I do dance? Can I be in this sport? And it was like, no, I don't have time for that. So it was
Wow.
always just like, well, if she didn't have time for it, then it wasn't gonna happen, and
Mm-mm.
that affected my confidence drastically. So I
Yes.
always was like, well, how do you guys think this looks? Or I can't wear that, or I don't know
Right.
if I should do that, or like not volunteering for things because I don't want people to
Mm-hmm.
look at me because I'm just not a confident person. I don't
Right.
look people in the eye. So
Wow.
it
Wow.
took a lot to be able to even just do that. Um, so it definitely affected my self esteem quite a bit to a point that I didn't have any, and it was always like asking someone what they thought.
Mm-hmm. Right. Wow, which means there's no confidence because one of the best garments anyone can wear is confidence. It doesn't matter how your hair look or what you're wearing. Because let me tell you, you can have the ugliest outfit on, but if you are confident and say I'm beautiful,
Yeah,
no one can steal that from you. They'll
yeah,
say, "Well, I mean." If you see it, sometimes you see a lot of the rich folks that clothes they be wearing. You're like,
yeah,
geez,
yeah. It
like
looks
I
terrible.
wouldn't buy that. I wouldn't wear that. But because money bought it, you say, well, that must be expensive. So
Hmm.
we viewing it different. Well, they have it on, so it must be expensive. So even though it's ugly, we're like, well, geez, I guess. But then they're confident. You understand? Just like getting your makeup done that boosts your confidence, getting your hair done that boosts your confidence. But the best confidence starts from the inside because if you're not confident already, and then you could do all of that, you still see yourself as ugly. You see yourself as fat. You see yourself as too dark. You see yourself as all of these different things because it's been hammered into you. It's been in you. You go to sleep, you wake up, it's the same thing. So you're looking in the mirror, you truly can't see your beauty. You're seeing yourself as others depict the depiction of who you are. Or
Yes.
you see fat. You understand? I think it was a series. It was Barbie. I think it was something about Barbie where she saw herself as skinny, but she was a big girl. It was a movie I remember
Yeah,
that
I
that
know what you're talking about. Yes, I know what you're talking about. I
yeah.
can't remember the name. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. So all this time they seen her grossly, but she didn't see herself that way. You understand? So these are the different things that carries. And I'm sure this low self-esteem, not having this confidence, you carried that in everything that you did. You understand? So therefore, even when you did these assignment, if you weren't confident, then you're not sure. Okay, if I get an A, I guess I'm working enough to get an A, but I'm not confident enough that this is gonna work. And I'm praying that it does because I don't want to have to deal with mom when I get home. It's not even the teacher or the grade at school, but what I'm gonna deal with when I get at home.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that's a lot. That's a lot. So, what would you say is a pivotal moment for you as coming as from a child into adulthood?
I think one of the things was going to high school. Was one of my pivotal moments because it was validation
Mm-hmm.
that I was on the right path in terms of like what I wanted to study
Right.
and how I actually was starting to see myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of like there was a sense of relief because since I have an engineering background, I was taking all this advanced math and science,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in high school, like
Right.
college level courses in high school. So the relief came, my mother could no longer help me with my homework. I was like, thank
Ah.
God,
Wow.
thank
Wow.
God. Like that was a godsend in
Hmm.
itself, just that she could no longer, like she
Right.
didn't know what was happening. And I was just
Right.
like, this is the best thing
Now you're
I've
finally where you need to be without being
I've ever experienced.
micromanaged.
And that might seem like a small thing, but just to
Yes.
not have that scrutiny, because her thing was the only reason why you have A's is because of me,
Wow.
because of how I
Mm-hmm.
had to stay on you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was like, well, no, it wasn't. And me understanding positive motivation and negative motivation. And
Yeah.
these were lessons that I started to learn as I like got
Mm-hmm.
mentors and like did more activities outside of my home. And it
Right.
was like, positive motivation means that you respond better to encouragement, words of
Yes.
affirmation and affirming. Negative motivation means that like you respond when people take things away from you. There's a negative consequence. I'm a
Right.
positively motivated person.
Mm-hmm.
You do
Mm-hmm.
not have to tell me that you're going to take something away from me to do it. You really don't have to say anything at all. I'll just do it. I'm an implement.
Right. Right.
But um, it was kind of like I was getting straight A's
Mm-hmm.
without the pressure and her being on me all
Right.
the time. I was in
But you did
activity.
the work. I
I
mean, it's
did the
just
work.
you did the
I did
work.
the
So
work.
that's
I
what your
studied
A.
hard. Yes, and I got into even more advanced classes than I was already in.
Mm-hmm.
I was writing essays, even with my bad handwriting, and
Mm-hmm.
getting A's. So, it was validation there that I did know what I was
Mm-hmm.
talking about, that I was a smart person.
Right.
And the whole like no one's gonna like me, I'm not gonna have any friends, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm too fat
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a factor. And so
Right.
I was able to see that what she was saying was not true.
Oh my
And
God, what realities. That's a good revelation.
so then since that was true, what else was also not true?
Come on, you're gonna keep
What
finding out.
what my brain was always percolating, like all
Yeah.
these things that I learned, and I'm like, well, then it started to like, why was I brought up this way?
Right.
And I think as I moved through life and I went to college, and like I took a class in African American studies, and it was very eye opening to me for that as well, and an insight into how I was raised,
Mm-hmm.
and how like every summer we went back to the South, to my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother's home in Georgia. And
Okay.
that's actually, and I found out that's a common practice for families who migrated from the South to northern states. So I'm in Maryland right now.
Okay.
I didn't understand that, didn't know that was a thing. I thought that was just our family thing.
Right.
But that was a common practice and still is actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and that has a lot to do with people maintaining their southern roots, even though they've moved north for a
Okay.
better life, quote unquote. And just some of the things, what happens in this house stays in this house, and
Mm-hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
those little things that were taught as
Right.
children. That's where it came from. So that even gave me more insight,
Okay.
but from an educational standpoint. And it was empowering to know that I did not have to subscribe
Right. Come on.
what I was
Come
taught,
on.
and that I could actually be my own person and do my own thing,
Mm-hmm.
and create a life that was outside of this construct that I had been put in.
Right.
So I mean, for me, that was very empowering, and a very pivotal aspect of my life, one of many, but those things really helped me.
Right. So you grew up with the negative motivation, which you didn't need, because parents also have to notice that every child reacts different to what you say. Someone you need to take away things from them for them to be able to get things done. The other one you just need to tell them, you can, I believe in you, and it gets done. Sometimes we're using the opposite on the wrong person. You
Yeah.
understand? So you must understand that. And I love the subscription. It is whatever you subscribe to. Just like even when you're on YouTube, you like stuff, you subscribe to it. If you don't like it, you unsubscribe. You had
Right.
somebody that was a friend, you unfriend. We don't have to friend or subscribe to everything. So if your YouTube is full of things that you feel like I'm no longer interested, unsubscribe. You're getting emails that are coming to you that you probably accidentally, like, when did I subscribe to this?
Yep.
Click unsubscribe and it stops. And I love that you realize, you know what? I don't have to subscribe to this. And
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
That was great. I hope a lot of people, your eyes open, your ears open, and everything needs to be open in this time, because there's a lot of nuggets that are being dropped here as Krystal is taking us through her journey. All right. So you did talk about some of the challenges that you faced. So let's talk about now as an adult, because now you've gone to high school. High school was better than middle and elementary, because you explained now you no longer had your mom shadowing over you. Now, did you start to make your own friends while you were in high school and taking us with you into college?
Yeah, so there are some folks that I'm still friends with today.
Mm-hmm. Great.
About to turn 40 next year.
Ooh.
So yeah, but that was a very uplifting time for me. I know some people think like high school was terrible. No, my
Mm-hmm.
high school experience was actually really great, actually better
Right.
than my college experience in some ways.
See, that's good.
And it was just a lot of validation that I was on the right path. And then
Mm-hmm.
academically, I knew that I would be fine, because that was so much of what was
Right.
put on me as a child, was that I was gonna,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not do well, and I was gonna
Right.
fail. But going into college, I got into every school I applied to, which I know
Great.
a lot of. I got tired. That's the only reason why I stopped. Like I applied to 16 schools. I
Mm-hmm.
got
Mm-hmm.
into all 16. I got into 4 Ivy League schools. I ended up going to an Ivy League
Great.
school. Um, and I was just like, okay. I was like, okay, I'm done with college applications. Like
Right.
I can't do anymore. But
Right.
it was the encouragement from friends and from teachers that
Yes.
actually contributed to that positive
Positive
behavior
motivation.
of wanting to do it. They were like, oh, they were talking about their college experience, their
Yes.
children. And then like some of our teachers gave us points, so extra points if you got into this university. So I just like,
Right.
I was like, oh,
So you got all your points.
let me see if I'll just apply to get in. And then it was just like, I think Krystal was applied to the most. I think it was like me and like the valedictorian. I think we applied to the most schools. So,
Yeah.
but I was in the top 1% of my class. It was a
Hey,
very,
beautiful.
very uplifting time for me, and like choosing a
Mm-hmm.
school and being able to study, what I really wanted to study. And of course, I broke the mold there. I did not become a teacher. I mean, well,
See,
now I guess I
that's
kind of
it.
do
You
it.
did not subscribe to that.
I didn't. I was like, I'm going to be an engineer,
That's
which
it.
was, everybody was like, well, what does that even mean? It was very difficult to
That's it. You went
explain.
against the grain.
Yeah, my mother didn't want to pay for it because she was like, what is
Because
this?
wow,
And then
wow.
she was like, well, you're going to eventually find your way back to teaching, which honestly,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm doing it in a different way. I'm doing it
Different way. There's
in my
different ways
own
of
way.
teaching. You don't have
Yeah.
to. Yes, different
Yeah.
way.
In my own way. So I was like,
Yeah.
I guess I kind of did find my way back to it, but I was just like, I don't want to be a teacher.
Right.
That's not what I see for myself. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was like, I guess I got to continue breaking the mold and like
Right.
breaking
That's
barriers
it.
for myself.
Chip, chip, chip.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. I love it. I love it. So the hard work paid off. You got into all the colleges that you wanted to get in. So let's talk about transitioning from a place of silent suffering to become a successful entrepreneur.
Mm, that's a long journey. And so you touched on in the beginning that I actually married a narcissistic man.
Yeah.
So it is true. They say what you experience in your childhood, if you haven't healed from it, you do take it into adulthood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, I took the treatment and what I was used to, I took that with me into my adult life, and I subconsciously I sought it out
Mm-hmm.
subconsciously. So I found a narcissistic man,
Wow.
um, and it was difficult because while at first, and this is how, and a lot of, I know some people don't believe in narcissists or because
Uh-huh.
they've never experienced it,
Experience. Yeah.
and because the narcissist doesn't show their true face to
No.
the majority of the people that they're around. So like you would
Yeah.
never know. It's only the person that is actually going through the abuse that
Yes.
gets to see how the person really is.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then if accidentally that an outside person gets a glimpse, they cut you off
Right. Mm-hmm.
because you've seen who they really are. So they can't keep the ruse up.
That's
So,
true.
and I didn't know that. And like, this is me after researching and like really
Mm-hmm.
reading about it and trying to figure out how this happened in my life.
Right.
Um, but at first it didn't start out that way. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
because I was seeking that validation of,
Yeah.
am I pretty? Does people want me? I
Right.
attached to a man who didn't care
Wow.
about me, really didn't care about my dreams. So it was, I knew from a very early age I wanted to be an entrepreneur from the age of
Mm-hmm.
16 actually. And
Mm-hmm.
when I graduated college, I was looking for a business opportunity. I wasn't
Right.
really looking for a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm dating my high school sweetheart, and I got into a sales opportunity where I'm doing 100% commission. That's what I make, commission. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. There's no base salary, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting a paycheck every two
Right.
weeks. And I did pretty well. I was like
Mm-hmm.
actually back then making a living. Like actually, like I think the average salary for a college grad was between 30 to 40,000. So I was making
Mm-hmm.
that without a paycheck.
Right.
And I was like the number one sales rep in the country. And the promise
Mm-hmm.
was I would get my own office. I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do.
Right.
But he said he wouldn't marry me if I didn't get a 9 to 5.
Wow.
So I was like, well, okay,
But
because
you are making money.
I was. But I was like, okay, well, because I thought I was supposed to get married, and this is what
Mm-hmm.
little girls are told. And I'm like, okay, well, and then I was like, I don't really want to start over another relationship. So
Right.
I got a 9 to 5. And I was doing very well there, getting promoted.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I came upon the business opportunity to start my studio, Divas and
Mm-hmm.
Dolls Fitness. So I did that. I was
Uh-huh.
doing both of those things. And the whole time, this is when like more, and I would say there were definitely signs before that I ignored. Like he would give me
Mm-hmm.
the silent treatment all the time, and
Right.
like not talk to me for like weeks at a time when we were dating.
What?
Yeah, and it was kind of all these
Because
things.
he didn't want what? It's because you were making more money than he was, or this
Well,
isn't the job that he wanted you in? What was his issue?
he had other women. That was the issue. He had other women, and that was the issue through our marriage that I found
Mm-hmm.
out.
I see.
But it was after I got the job. It was more about me doing better than him. I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it and
Right.
perception. And so it was kind of like you're going to fail at your business. Nobody's going to come to this thing. It's an expensive
Wow.
hobby. It's going to shut down. You're spending all this money. You're never home. You're a terrible wife.
Wow.
Like blah, like it just goes on. So like the same treatment that I
At
was
home as a
experiencing
child.
as a child, it was showing up in my adult home. And I was just like, but then me, I the I me is like little scared Krystal kicked in. Well, how can I be a better wife? What can I do?
Right.
Like, okay, I'll stay up late to like clean the house, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll cook for the week, and
Mm-hmm.
just all these things. Also, working a full time job and running a full time business. There's no
Right.
hours left in the
Mm-hmm.
day for me. And his thing was he didn't. He was like he wanted a stay at home wife. Like
Mm.
he, but then he wanted
First,
me to
you
work.
were working on commission. which gives you more flexibility.
Yeah.
You tell me to get a 9 to 5. I'm doing great. So now you want me to be a state. My goodness.
It was just, but then no, he did not want me to be a stay at home wife
Okay.
because he said, he was like, I'm not going to take care of you. Like, I'm not taking care of any woman. And I was just like, but I'm your wife.
Exactly.
What? I don't understand that statement.
Exactly.
It didn't,
Exactly.
it didn't dawn on me till later that that was a sign to run. That,
Wow.
that was, I mean, there were so many, but that was definitely
Mm-hmm.
the sign that I needed to run.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this went on for years and years and years. And steadily, but I think what changed for me was that I was like, no, I want to be an entrepreneur. Like, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. And
Right.
entrepreneurship isn't for everybody, but I've known for
Right.
a very long time that that's what I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to do. So
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna make this thing work.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I find another business opportunity, which I have, business venture,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is what I want to do. Like,
Right.
this is it.
Mm-hmm.
So I continued to build my business, invest in myself, invest in my business, and I
Mm-hmm.
quit to the point where I can now be a full-time entrepreneur. Um, and that was really when, things really hit because
Mm-hmm.
I was at the height of my success. I was actually in the C-suite at my job.
Mm-hmm.
So things were good, but our marriage was extremely bad. Um,
Wow.
and to the point where like he's not talking to me for like weeks at a time. Um, just staying out late, all
Mm-hmm.
this crazy behavior
Right.
where
Right.
I like didn't even want to go in my own house sometimes. Like he would have these parties and I would come, like I would be working at the studio, I'd come home
Mm-hmm.
and I would just sit in my car for like an hour because
Parties at the house
mhm,
that he didn't tell you he's having a party.
nope. Or he would call me, I'm at the studio like, hey, I'm having a fight party. I'm like, okay. And then I'm
Wow.
like, well, who's coming? And like all his friends will be there. And mind you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. Like I don't care about that. It was just I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know about it.
Right.
And then or if I did know, it was
You
like
weren't a part of the party. He didn't invite you to the party. You had nothing to do with the party. This was his party.
yeah,
Basically, he was telling you so you could stay away.
pretty much. Because he knew I didn't want it. And then or if he told me ahead of time, it was like we gotta clean the house for the party. I'm like, we gotta clean the house?
Mm.
I
You
think
having a party, and I'm
I
not a
think
part of the party.
I think you gotta clean the house, but I helped. I mean, this
Mm.
it's my house too. So
Right, right.
but I don't know. I mean, it was stuff like that was happening, and I just saw it
Mm.
happening more and more and more until, I mean, I would go to work crying. I would be in my office crying. I never told anybody until one day one of my coworkers caught me
Mm.
crying in my office
Mm.
because we had an argument. I would like cry my way to work sometimes. Like he would
Mm.
just basically like I would try to get him to talk to me. The silent treatment is one of the worst things ever because
Right.
you don't. It's like what did I do? Like that's like the
And you're beating yourself up trying to figure it out. You're going out of your way to please the person, and they're still not happy, and you just,
yeah. My
yeah.
mother would do that also. So, and it didn't even dawn on me that that behavior was so similar because in my mind, I had left my mother's house behind.
Right. That's
But,
behind.
and I had blocked it out, not realizing the connection
Right.
between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was what, like the straw that broke the camel's back. One
Right.
simple argument.
Mm-hmm.
I had one day I had enough. And I was
Because
like,
you've been building.
I
You've
want to
been
make it work.
building for years. You've been dealing for years. Listen, that you were just ticking, 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 and it just took one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like just one simple argument. He did the silent treatment. He hung up on me.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Mm-hmm.
at work. He came home from out of town. He was just like, it was an argument over like a clothes rack I put up in the bedroom. And it was like,
Mm-hmm.
he put this clothing rack up. And I was like, yeah. He was like, well, this isn't even clean. It's like, you didn't clean up. That's all you did. And he hung up on me. And I was
Wow.
just like,
Wow.
that was it. I was like, I'm done. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and
Mm-hmm.
it may seem so simple and minuscule, but
But it
it
was
was,
building. It wasn't even that. It was all the things that was building. And that was just that one more thing.
yeah,
That's all it was. See, a lot of people think like if you're in a relationship and the moment it happened, they're looking back at like currently what is happening now. But it started from way back,
yeah,
right? People who get divorced, the divorce didn't happen because of something that just happened this week. This
Yeah.
thing was already building. People have already grown apart. They've already been separated before they actually signed those papers. Some people are divorced for years. They were just putting up, okay, society's going to say this person going to say that, or they're looking at themselves, well, my parents were married this long and I need to try to push myself. So there's all these different reasons why people are existing, all right?
Yeah.
Because once you decided you're going to live, you're going to cut the cord of existing to live so you can be free. So you were building and building and building. And for him, it was the clothes rack. Maybe that day he shouldn't have not said something. Because I don't know about you, because I've had moments where I say, today, come on, if you say something today,
Yeah.
and then usually when I'm in that mode, nothing happens that day. Not, nothing happens that day. And then when they do it, okay, you say, well, I wasn't in that frame of mind today. And then when you're ready, like, come on, like, I'm ready, what? Just be that usual thing today. And it didn't happen. And before you know it, you're years into this thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you're telling yourself, you're building, but eventually, it's going to line up. And the clothes rack was the day. It was the thing. It didn't need to take much. This is it. I'm ready. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. And I think the
I'm
thing
ready.
was the same pattern. The silent treatment started,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I don't care.
Right. That's it. That's
Like,
it.
and I
You
think
stop subscribing.
I stopped subscribing, and that was the moment that I took and that was the moment I took my
Yeah.
power back in the
That's it.
relationship because I was just like,
That's
I
it.
don't care. I don't
That's
care
it.
what happens. He could leave tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I think, like you said, I stayed. So we were together for 17 years, married for
Wow.
6.
17 years of this.
Yeah, so like from high school till then, 17 years, and then married
Ooh.
for 6 years. And I
Mm-hmm.
and I stayed so long, I think, because again, there was that fear mongering of failure.
Mm-hmm.
Being a successful person, you can't even succeed in a relationship, or
Yeah.
you're going to fail. And so and what people would think, what the church
Right.
would think, there
Yeah.
was just
Come on
so
now. The church
many.
part. Come
Yes,
on
the
now.
church. I mean, his family is the first family. So
Oh, Lord have
I
mercy.
was
Now, you just shared light. This thing just took a whole nother level.
I was terrified. His
Oh,
grandfather
my
is a
God.
pastor. I was just like, oh, I don't want to upset
Come on. I
upset the
can,
reverend.
girl. You don't
Um,
have to say.
I, and
Mm,
and so I mean, it was terrifying to know. I mean, because I grew up in the church, but my
yeah.
family wasn't the first family. However, I did so later.
Right.
Interesting enough, I thought my grandmother was a deaconess. Didn't know that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In her hometown.
Right.
But marrying into the first family is terrifying.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and then I don't know. And I mean, it was very difficult. And then finally,
Mm-hmm,
being able to say that there was
mm-hmm.
the fear mongering from then everybody kind of
Right.
jumped on me. And I was really alone once again because it was like,
Again,
okay,
alienated.
it was like, how could this be?
Right.
It's all my fault.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
I'm never going to be able to live without him.
Yeah.
That was what so many people told me. I
Mm-hmm.
would, of course, my mother jumped in there. You're not going to make it by yourself. I didn't know that my ex and my mother were even in cahoots, and it had been for
Wow.
years,
He been
years.
manipulating behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, like once that came to light, I was just like, I cannot believe how
You didn't
long.
even see it. But that's
Then
the control because he gave it to her, and now he's feeling like her mom has sealed off on this. So I can treat her, any kind of how. Because people don't realize that how you, as even parents, because I have 6 children, right? Two of which are married. I do not put my 2 cents in their relationship, right? We are the first family. My husband is a senior pastor. We have our own ministry. But I always teach my children that you are the examples, okay? As the examples, you have to be the better part of the example, not the extreme end. Because I've seen it where the first children, they are everywhere but doing church stuff. You
Yeah.
understand me? But walking the godly road and all of that. And I said, no, what we're preaching, we have to be living. But at the same time, we cannot accept or tolerate foolishness. You have to own up to what it is that you do. You understand? Because I'm not supporting you. We're not supporting you in your foolishness. You understand? My firstborn, after 5 years, ended up getting a divorce. If that was me being her, I probably would have been in my relationship as I have been now for 31 years. But she realized by year five, actually before year five, I made the wrong decision. Her father did not, seal off on this to begin with. So therefore, that also gave her more empowerment to realize, what? My dad never even signed off for this. But if we had validated him, you understand what I'm saying? Then
Yeah.
he could have kept on,
Yeah.
doing what he was doing, and she would have been feeling like, what, they signed off on it. So no, we don't, get into that area of their relationship. We know where the Bible tells us, like, once you are married, you're married. You know what? But we're living in a time. I'm a pastor. I can never tell somebody to stay in a relationship because they're suffering or whatnot. I tell them, make your decision, and I support you in whatever decision you make. But I'm not gonna put your hand and say, here's what it is that you need to do. I'm not living in that person's shoes. I don't know what they're dealing with in narcissistic area. I don't know if they're being abused. I won't want to stay in a situation where I'm being abused and manipulated. And I dealt with narcissism. You know, you know, I didn't realize it
Yeah.
until like 30 something years later when I started looking at the manipulation. Now I'm empowering people, teaching people, it's in my own life, but I could not, it didn't click for me.
Yeah.
I had that clothing rack moment. You understand me? Because
Yeah.
it got to a point where it was too much. And when we put the church into this thing, girl,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother story.
So I walked away from the church
Mm-hmm.
immediately because I
Yeah.
couldn't. I mean, I couldn't believe. I was like, "Well, what do you mean it's my fault?" And then people start to throw so many hurtful things in there. Well, is it
Mm-hmm.
because maybe you can't have children,
Oh
or
my gosh.
that was his mother. And
Wow.
I had surgery. I had an issue with fibroids. I
Mm-hmm.
had
Mm-hmm.
surgery. There's no indication that I could not have children, but that was what
Mm-hmm.
was like. It was like, well, is it because maybe you can't have kids, or
Oh
I
my
know that you had your
God.
little issue. It was just so many little nitpicks. I really thought my mom just sold me. I was like, you just sold
Wow.
you. I was like, you sold me, like in old times when people used to
Mm-hmm.
promise their daughters
Right, right, right,
to
right.
men. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you just sold me to this man because you
Wow.
said I will never be able to buy another house, have another car, have anything on my own
Wow.
without him. And I was like, do you realize that I am
You're
actually
the one who's been
paying
doing it.
for all the things? Like, I'm the reason we have this house right
Right.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And it just couldn't, I couldn't
Mm.
fathom like why she would say that. And then later they had been talking all along for years, and then that
Wow.
came out and it was like, oh, okay, so you never were on my side and you were supporting his
Wow.
behavior
Yes,
um,
yes,
this entire time. And I'm like, y'all are the same people.
yes.
And so that was a very difficult pill to swallow as well, because
Mm-hmm.
that meant that I really was alone. I didn't have
Yeah.
anybody to go to. I had to like
That's a lonely place.
I moved myself. Like, I moved out of the house. I sold
Mm-hmm.
it. I moved myself. I kept to myself. I
Yeah.
still haven't disclosed a lot of the details of what happened because I was
Mm-hmm.
fearful of being followed and
Right.
all these different things
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that came with that situation.
Wow.
But it was a very difficult experience, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And I, definitely
Right.
don't stay someplace just because you're afraid of what people will think.
Come on, you say that. Say that.
And I think that's where that looking for outside validation came. I
Mm-hmm.
stayed so long because I was afraid of what people would think.
What say?
And it turns out there were more people who were like me than I ever knew. Than I ever knew.
Hey, hey. Sometimes it takes one person to break free for the next person to start sharing and saying this. Because we're all looking at everyone and thinking it's all good, it's all perfect, it's this, that. Come on. Come on.
Yep.
A lot of people not embracing it, owning it, and once you do, you feel like the sheep, the black sheep.
Yeah,
Whew.
that's right. Yeah. I was
Wow.
the black sheep. Well, I am the black sheep. Still, actually. I am still. But you know what? That's okay. It is okay for
You're not
me.
the black sheep. That's how they view it. You are free. Okay?
No,
You
I
are
am
free.
free, but I will tell you that everybody does not deserve an invitation to the next
Yes.
chapter of your life.
That's it. That's it.
And once I adopted that as my mantra,
Mm-hmm.
everything became okay.
That's it.
Everything became okay.
That's it. Wow. That is definitely going beyond the veil. Going beyond the veil, definitely. And I understand because it's not easy to even talk about hurts and pains until you actually decided you no longer subscribe. Once you still subscribe to things, you can't talk about them. You can't open up about them.
Hmm.
But, this word subscription is staying on today. We have, you know, I'm going to keep using it because I want to drive this point home. Whatever is being filtered to you is because you've subscribed to it. All right. And I love to say it's time to evict the squatters. All right. That have taken dominant domain and they have no legal rights. All
Yes.
right. In your life, in your spirit, we have to get rid of them. All right. So you dealt with this from a little girl. You got into marriage, not realizing the hand of your mother is still even on that, of how you're moving, how you're being treated by your own husband. All
Yeah.
right. Now, I mentor women who have had issues, whether it was jealousy. Sometimes it's jealousy on the mother's side, and they don't want, they want you to have a miserable life. It's unfortunate that there are people that are this way. So some people say, "Oh no, it's my mom. It wouldn't be my mom." You'll be surprised. The people who do not want you to succeed or who want you to repeat a certain cycle. They
Yeah.
would like you to stay in that cycle. We all here. Don't try to get out of this. We got to own this. And the moment you decide that I no longer subscribe to this is not who I am, you're alienated. Everybody start making you feel like you think you better than us. Who do
Yep.
you think you are? Da 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 da. All of this is coming, right? But these in the end are worth it, all right? Because God is preparing a table before you in the presence of your naysayers. All
Yeah.
right. He will bring you up. And all of them who think that you could not do it without them, well, God will show it because you're not doing it with them. You're doing it with God. And with God, there is no limits. People always say sky is the limit. With God, there is no limit to what He's doing. So He's prepared the table. All right. And all of these people who was at the table or around, they will see that the feast that was set, unfortunately, there is no reservation at that table for them. They
Yeah.
have to look from the outside. There's no reserved seat. And now they have to go now and tell your story for you. I remember Krystal was this. I remember that. But that's all past tense because Krystal is no longer there. She don't live on that street anymore. Her name has changed. Hello, her car
Yes.
color changed. Everything about her changed, and she's owning herself. And guess what? They're gonna look around and they're gonna look at him and say, you know what? She was never the problem. I see it now. Some people won't admit to that,
Of
but
course.
yeah, they won't admit to that, but they're seeing it. So, Krystal, I do thank you so much for coming on today. So, before we close, as we are touching the hearts of mothers, the hearts of families and women and men, because men do deal with the opposite side of this situation as well. All right, because I know it's been a lot of women. Unfortunately, men don't like to talk. But if there's a guy on here, I'm encouraging you, come on and talk. Okay, just be here because we know there's two sides to the coin. All right,
Yeah.
most of the women are verbal and they're telling their story, but then on the other hand, there are also men that deal with narcissistic
Mm.
wives.
Yeah.
Okay, so these things are real, so my platform is called Emerge and Empower because it's for everyone who's emerged from a situation. So, Krystal, let us close out with a last, like a closing remark. Actually, we need to get into your book. Let's get into your book before we close out here. We almost forgot the book. We got to go into this book here because Krystal, we told you, is an author. So we're gonna get into this book, and I love the cover of this book. Okay, y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Here we go. Bam! Look
Yes.
at that. Isn't that beautiful? Woohoo! Beautiful, beautiful. So let's talk about this book, Krystal, as we will also summarize and close out the segment.
Yeah, so this is my Amazon number one bestseller, The Brand Builder Blueprint, Shattering Barriers in Business and Beyond. And this is, I would say, part of my life's work in the entrepreneurship space, where I teach my
Mm-hmm.
5-part framework:
Mm-hmm.
strategy, storytelling, sales, systems, and scaling, to help entrepreneurs build a profitable and sustainable business, multi
Mm-hmm.
six figures and beyond. So I go over my framework and I go over part of my story, and how to actually implement
Mm-hmm.
this inside of your business. So if whether you're starting or you're a seasoned entrepreneur, I
Mm-hmm.
promise you there are going to be some nuggets, some gems that you'll pick up from
Mm-hmm.
the Brand Builder Blueprint.
Wow, I just love it. Isn't this a beautiful cover, everyone?
Mhm.
It's a beautiful cover and it's telling you how to build your her blueprint. So this is a blueprint because we all have come from some shattered type of place and need to emerge. Just looking at that heel, you just like boom, pow, 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 emerge out of that. It's just beautiful. I love it. I love it. Don't mind me. I celebrate everything. Okay. Everybody know me. I celebrate everything. I celebrate getting up, smiling, because
Yes.
I suffer from a headache. If I get up one day and I'm clear and I'm free, and that's when I get a selfie. And I say, let me take a selfie because today I'm smiling without a headache. I've learned to do that because I was always living in the shadows, Krystal. Always
Mm,
living in shadows. So when I post, I shared a post the other day, I think this week, somebody shared it. Not everybody is posting to make people feel jealous. They're just posting because
yeah.
they're feeling some type of confidence. That's the time that they had to smile, etc. And I just got this title that I'm still talking about, and I will keep talking about it. Miss Florida
Oh,
Plus Ambassador. All right. I never thought that would be
congratulations.
me. Thank you. I was that woman, young girl that had low self esteem, too dark, too ugly. I was the ugly duckling until I realized I was in the wrong pond.
Yeah.
Okay. And once I cross over in that pond, nobody can tell me nothing.
Yes.
All right.
Love
So
it.
that's what it's all about. So, everyone, we thank you so much for being here in Emerging in Power. And I would like for you to reach out to Krystal. We would put all the links in the bio, how to get the book. Share it. If you don't think it's for you, get it as a gift for someone because we are here to share, to uplift, and empower one another. And Krystal, I thank you so much for being on Emerge and Empower today. So, everyone, until next time, we thank you so much for being on this platform with us today. And Krystal, isn't she beautiful? A beautiful young lady with so much ahead of her. And the table has been set, Krystal. Watch out because God is going to fill your table up. And you know who's going to tell the story? All your naysayers and everyone that was negative in your life. Blessings, everyone. Until next week. Bye bye.